So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our beautiful viewers out there. And here we are again with another intimate conversation. And this time our guest is the beautiful Tracy Cartwright. And welcome, Tracy. This is going to be a lovely hour, I can feel.
Thank you, Mandy. Thanks for the invitation. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Oh, look, I was just excited too. And, you know, we've known each other for a long time now, many years. And being in the same community, same town and space. And I have loved watching you grow and expand out there and doing what you're doing now. It's just fantastic, Tracy, honestly. You've just gone leaps and bounds.
Yeah, well, I attribute some of that to you too, though, because you were part of the vessel that held me at the beginning of my journey as well. So, and, you know, just being able to see you as a mentor and watch you develop has empowered me, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely. Leading the way, Mandy.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I remember the spiritual development on the hill, which was great, going up there. I think we started in town and then we moved up onto the hill, and yeah, things grew from there.
We had fun, didn't we? They were great old days. We're not, you know, it's that thing where you get older and you look back and you go, oh, they were the good old days. You know, here we are. They're the good old days. Oh, wonderful. I'll just introduce you, Tracy, and read your introduction here.
Sure.
So Tracy, who is she? Tracy is a dream weaver, a creative intuitive, a family constellation facilitator, and drum maker. She is passionate about plant medicine, family, somatic body wisdom, elemental magic, and healing through art. Tracy's ancestors are a melting pot of cultures from Scottish, Irish, Swedish, Maori, Hawaiian, and English. This brings a colourful collaboration, I'll say, of resources and strength. Tracy is a constellation trainer and has been facilitating for over a decade. She's hosted and facilitated local and international retreats for empowerment and connecting to self through the movement of the soul. She is presented on the global stage through online conferences and the Australasian intensives. Coming from a background in nursing, herbal medicine, and kid care, Tracy has a diverse range of skills which support her immense ability to guide and support others on their journeys. Wow, Tracy, that is a melting pot. Absolutely. How wonderful.
Yeah.
Really cool. So Tracy, one of the things I start with in these conversations is, were you an aware child? Were you, you know, you were? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I was aware and totally unsupported in my awareness.
Right.
It was a very scary thing for my family. So it wasn't nourished, nurtured.
Yeah.
It was pushed down, and I was made to feel, I don't think it was intentional, but I was made to feel like I was crazy, and that if I showed the world, I would be put into a mental institution, because we would go and visit people because I had a relative who was in Tokanui.
Yep.
And I used to get told, if you keep talking the way you are, you're going to end up in here. They'll lock you away, and this is where you'll be.
Oh, wow, Tracy. Those places were very scary in those days. I remember.
Oh, and I could see so much. I could feel it. It was pretty, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, they were. They're horrific. Even now, the old where Spookers is now. Honestly, great place to have that sort of thing happening. But yeah, it was like, wow.
Yeah, and my relative was receiving electric shock therapy, which completely fried her. She's
wow.
And so it was really scary, because I could see the change and even from a really early age, I could feel it.
Yeah. I had this really weird thing that used to pop up frequently, not all the time, but frequently enough, where I had traveled overseas and I was locked up into an institution mental institute when and I couldn't free myself. I couldn't get out. It was this terrible trauma-y thing that I had, past life. But yeah, and that sort of put me off traveling overseas to places that we weren't speaking English, because I thought I have to be clear about who I am and where I am and all of that stuff, otherwise I might get locked up too. So obviously, Tracy, that would have been traumatic for you and very, very scary. So how did you navigate through that? Like you would have needed to work through a whole lot of that old trauma around all that just to release yourself to be able to do what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, I remember it, so I shoved it down so much, and I also had some actual other traumatic experiences happen in my early years, so I shoved them down as well. And then at my teenage years, it started to rise up again, and I remember confiding in my sister-in-law and saying, don't tell mum, I think I'm going crazy, I'm hearing voices, and that, I don't know what to do. So I just started drinking and taking drugs.
Yep.
Lots of it, as much as I could consume, to numb it. Yeah,
Did
and it worked. It worked on and off. Yeah. Sometimes I was that person at the party that would be blotto, because it was just so much easier. Yeah. Either that, or I was just in that channeling space with it, which was fun, but also really scary when you don't know what you're doing and there's other energies that are coming in and out. So it's been a real journey. Yeah. Giving it, like putting that all aside, because it wasn't working anymore. And I was having all these experiences, and it was like you either become authentic and on this path that you're here to do, and I knew I was on a path to do something big, or you find another way out of this. And that wasn't an option, because by then I was a mother, and I just knew that I was here for something. So it's been a real journey of self-discovery, lots of snot and tears, crying and burning through stuff and evolving and letting go of my ego to get beyond my pain and all of it, as we do. It's a pretty massive journey.
It is a massive journey. And so many times I've heard people that have taken the journey, say, I wish I could just put the blindfold back on. It was easier than going through the journey. But to me, no, I just couldn't wait to just uncover everything, get rid of the whole thing, the freedom that came from the expansion. All of that is so immense, when you do that type of work.
Yeah, and I think I had glimpses of it as a child. I can remember where I was standing in the doorway of our house, and I had an energy rush, and my heart chakra opened up, and I was so excited. And there was stuff coming in, there was downloads, and I wanted to make sound and noise. And I looked around, and I don't know what I was looking like, but I remember the look on others' faces, so I shut it all down.
Yes.
But I had a glimpse of it, so it was like, you get a little snippet here and there, and it just really helped me on the way.
You do, it builds courage. It does build courage towards it, for sure. Yeah. Isn't it exciting, though, when you do actually allow yourself to be there and experience it and know it?
Yeah.
Fun. So how did you get into your I know the constellation work is your probably the big stuff you do, more so. How did that come about, Tracy?
I was doing some work with a group of healers that would go to different maraes around the country, and I was doing energy work and had already sort of started down that path. Or re-stepped onto that path, we'll say. And my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and some things happened during that diagnosis that had me quite triggered. And I think part of it was that my little self rose up, and she was like, am I ever going to know if he loved me? Am I ever going to, So I went to this Wainanga weekend feeling lost. And there happened to be a guy there from the States who was doing family constellations, and he did a demonstration and said, does anyone want to do it? And my hand went up and I was like, okay. So I got to sit in the hot seat and experience it, and it was life-changing, because I could see that it actually wasn't about me. I could see my dad's pain and what was going on behind him, and in his life in a different way, whereas I was looking through the wounded child.
Yes.
And I could see that, and I could feel that actually there was love there for me. I just couldn't see it through my turning away from him and his not being able to see me through his own grief. So I was sitting there in the hot seat, and it was complete, and I was like, and I just heard this voice saying, this is what you're here for. This is why you've come down here. Oh, because it felt really familiar, like the work itself felt really familiar. Yeah. So that was the kickoff point for me, was receiving my own constellation and pivoting my world, really.
Yes.
It allowed me to, look at it through different eyes.
Yeah. And it's it's we all require a tool, or tools that we can use that fit us, because not everything does. Not everybody's tools work for you, or
Exactly.
all that sort of thing. You do have to find. And I know when I found the cellular stuff, that was, I just knew it too. It was like, I don't even need to do this training, I just know it. But of course you go through the training because you want the bit of paper. But it was a reminder of who I really was too, which was really wonderful. You step in, it's lovely.
Yeah, and I realized that, because for me, I was one of these people that, because I was so wounded and so open and energetic, as a feeler, I also took on so much.
Yes.
So not everybody's going to have to peel back how many friggin' layers I've had to, but we all have layers that don't belong to us. We have our own stuff that we create as well. So it's been a journey. And it's ever evolving, of course.
Yeah, for sure. It really is. And so now you facilitate. You have events and things around the country.
Yeah, run them around New Zealand, and I've done some overseas. And I do one-on-ones, and online, in person, and in workshops. And now I'm training as well. I'm training people.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Gosh, good on you. It's so cool. Yeah. And isn't it just, for me in all of this, it's always been the people, just absolutely love meeting the people and, diving into their story, seeing who they are and what they've endured and how they've managed to navigate their way through. And,
totally.
It's just amazing, some of the stuff. Like absolutely amazing. And I remember, you talking about yourself shutting yourself down as a kid. I hadn't realized it was something that I was doing automatically and through love. But I hadn't realized just how much I was shutting myself down when I was around my mum, because mum was a very anxious type of person. And I realized that I actually went to a reader in Tauranga when I was there looking after my dad one time many years ago, and Spirit were telling me to go and have this reading. I saw an advert in the paper, and I'm going, I don't want to go and have a reading. Getting all up in there, and there's this forcing, no, you're going, go, and I thought, oh, all right then, so you go. And the first thing she said to me was, gosh, your aura's dark. And I went, oh, okay. And I was like, okay. She said, you know why that is? She said, it's because you keep retracting, bringing it in. And she said, what happens when you overfill a suitcase? You have to sit on the suitcase to close the latches. She said, but what happens when you open that up? And I went, poof. She goes, that's what you need to do. Open it up and and I thought, oh my gosh. And then from that, it was very relevant. I started seeing, I said, when have I started doing this? And it was when I was a kid. mum being very anxious and nervy type of person, I was this big energy, and look at me, I'm, you know, I'm in this world, I'm coming here to do this stuff, let's get on. Mum was not in that space at all. So when I was around her, when I came home from school, I just draw myself in and become this, you know, smaller version of me, basically. And then I just got comfortable and not comfortable, because it wasn't really, doing this for other people in life. You know, I realized I was actually doing this around people to make them feel comfortable, because I knew that maybe I might make them uncomfortable if I was really who I was.
Yeah, it's kind of like a muscle, isn't it? Like you train it, you train yourself to not be this, but over time, it's like that. Actually, no, I need to stretch that. I need to work that, because it's not working.
That's right. And I realized I wasn't actually doing any good for anybody else if I wasn't fully me, being me. It wasn't good for myself, but it wasn't also good for those around me. It wasn't teaching them anything other than shut yourself down and make people feel comfortable, you know. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but a lot of the time we do this stuff for the purpose of others, you know, which is what we tend to do, is be people pleasers, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. But that teaches us a lot as well.
Yeah,
you know?
it does. Absolutely.
Sometimes I have people that get angry because they've spent all their time carrying this burden for their parents or whatever. I'm like, yep, okay, let's just breathe through that and move forward.
Yeah.
Now you can move forward. It's not dwell, sit in that, because that's going to drag you down.
And it's been a choice. Hey, everything's a choice. Whether we think we haven't got one or haven't made a choice in it, and it was forced, we still made a choice. Yeah. So, Tracy, how did you navigate through these last few years? You know, like all of you, what you know has kept you on the aligned and centered and all that in there.
When you say the last few years, are you referring to the big global things that's been happening? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I had a little bit of a wobble at the beginning, you know, kind of caught up in the wave, but I pulled back. So I could feel this wave of anxiety and fear rise up. I didn't necessarily get fearful, but I kind of was like, and then I decided to just sit back a little bit, see and just see what was going on, and then felt into what was happening there. And yes, really had to stay aligned. It did take a lot of work.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it wasn't always easy. It was, especially with other people around that weren't, that didn't have the resources as well. So I felt like I was definitely holding more than my own.
Yeah. And we tend to, you know, I know I did many times have a day, and it would usually only be a day or half a day, but it was a day where I would be really, really heavily purging. And I realized what I was helping was to clear a lot of that old fear energy and all the stuff that was coming up from everyone and those bands around the planet. It was like helping to clear that stuff. And man, there was some big dives. But felt it. I mean, as we do always, once we move through those, we feel the cleansing, the clearer space, the energy's different, you know, and then it'll build again. And I'd obviously go through, but it was never done. Oh yes, Saturday I'm going to do that. It was just, it would hit, and whoa, man. One of them was my birthday. It was on my birthday. I was here alone. Bobby had shifted, and yeah, and it was a huge, big day, man. That was wild. But, you know, a lot of it got shifted. So, yeah, everyone, and did you notice your purpose in any way shifted? Like I noticed purposes were changing for people. They'd been doing certain things. I mean, even Sue Gray, you know, she probably didn't realize what her purpose was going to be in amongst it all.
I think it was more of an anchoring. I found that the more I anchored in, the more others were able to anchor in around me. I went online a lot more. You know, well, obviously all of us did to some degree. But I was able to do a lot more global work as well. So yeah, I don't think I still was focused on the constellation work, and I did a little bit of experimenting and playing online with others. But mostly, I think my focus, I think the biggest thing was that I learned to anchor in the tsunami, if you want to call it that. Yes. I felt really grounded and anchored in it. So.
Yeah, it was a tsunami, my goodness. But you know, now, and like, what can you feel the change within you from this? Like, what would you say was your change? Like, I see for me, there's a shift in the energetics. Energetically, things are working differently. It's the same, but there's a different state to it. And when I sit in the silence, you know, the silence is different. It's just, and you know, how do we word it? I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's definitely shifted. And we're now in such a heightened energy at this present moment in time. And, you know, we're just into January. We're going to be airing this in around February, March. So January is just absolutely buzzing in heightened energy.
Yeah, I found physically there was a lot of shifting. It's allowed me to be more here, to like, I noticed, like, so I was, for the first time in a very long time, I'd spent that amount of time with my family, as most of us suddenly found ourselves with. And my boy, who I'd been working night shift and shift work for quite a few years prior to, and then going into starting my own business, and that took me away a lot. So in this chunk of time, we spent a lot of time together, and I would sit and do spend a lot more time in myself. Yeah. Which was great. And so that has really helped me. And as you say, like at the moment, the energies are really high. I noticed today, like there were parts of me that were vibrating, and I was like, have I got my phone on me? No, I haven't got my phone on me. Why am I vibrating? Yes. You know, and then it would stop, and I could feel a real shift. So there's so much actually energetically going on, and it was really intense around that time as well. So yeah, I'm really grateful for the experience. I learned a lot. I had a great time. Me too. I didn't, but I had a great time.
Yeah, I couldn't say it was great. I had very dark spaces that I went in around my family, and you know, we were considering, like, the consideration of how harmful things might have got. So yeah, that was a bit out there for me. I found that very difficult to deal with. But I had to still come back to those places of, you know, choice. Everyone has their choice. Everyone's got that, you know. But yeah, deceit was another big thing that I found very difficult, you know. So there was a lot of, and because as you know, I grew up with a bully. So, you know, bully energy had been around me a lot. And that's what I was witnessing here as well, you know, in that time. So for me, there was a huge purge on the bully stuff that was going on, and the unplugging myself, because it was like, where am I still plugged into this matrix, you know, because it kept bringing you back in all the time, you know, something would still drag you back in. And so when I looked at where I was still connected, it was the bully stuff. So it was like, okay, and an incident happened where I could really unplug from that. So it was good. I'm very grateful too. And I think now when I look at what we have the potential to head into, is just so exciting. Yeah. And, you know, this year I keep saying is going to be the year of fun and joy. We're bringing that all back again. It's great.
It definitely feels a lot lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a thought and it's gone now. Don't you love that? And you think something, and then it's like, see you later.
Yeah, I know. It's like you almost have to interrupt somebody to say it before it flits off, eh? Yeah. So how do you see things sort of unfolding now, Tracy? Do you, like, in the bigger picture of the planet and the humanity and things, what do you feel? Is there anything you're getting around that?
feels like there's going to be a lot more crumbling in those areas where they thought there was going to be dominance. It feels like there's going to be a lot more crumbling because more and more people are waking up, more and more people are doing their work, tuning into the energy, the consciousness, like diving deeper, getting beyond all the fluffiness of spirituality, but actually diving deeper into it. So a lot more people are peeling back layers. So it feels like the powers that think they be aren't going to be as empowered as they think they are.
Yes. Yeah, that's my feeling too. It's what I'm seeing. It's good. It's great stuff. Yeah. And I think too, you know, like I keep saying to everybody, it's time now that we actually really consciously create in, you know, and really be aware of what we are creating in our life every day, and bring forward what you might think might be the most impossible thing. It might be your deepest desire and deepest dream, and it might feel like it's just so impossible to even occur. It's that time now. Miracles are going to absolutely be really there. So yeah, fun times. Yes. And are your children aware and things, Tracy? Like, do you have that support now? You would have your support from a lot of your friends and those in the Constellation community and things. But your children on board? And
tricky one, that one. Yes and no.
Yeah.
They just see me as I am. One of my children was very much on board when they were younger, but has chosen to not follow that path.
Yeah.
And the other one, who was just completely shut off to everything from day dot, like who has now got children and is much more in tune and sees me and can see where and what I do and the benefits of that.
Yeah.
Chooses not to tap into that herself. And my boy, bless his little soul, he's got some big stuff.
Yeah.
He's got some amazing gifts. He's just not quite ready to bring them out, which is all great.
Yeah.
And we've had some interesting interactions with beings and stuff like that.
Cool.
So yeah, it's kind of like he's just in a space. And I've said to him, look, you're really lucky because I understand.
Yeah.
And when I was going through stuff, nobody understood, so it was shut down. So let's just work this as it comes and evolve it and take it as far or as he's got a really good energy about, like his energy, people find him, he holds the space really well, though he doesn't want to be in a spotlight or anything like that. He's very humble. So yeah, looking forward to seeing where that takes him.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you like, did your children, maybe not your children, but have you noticed all the anxiety with the younger crew that have come in, you know, the 20s, even in their 20s now, and the young ones?
Yeah.
What do you feel that might be about? Like for a very long time, I couldn't get why they were. I mean, I can understand it. Yes, they've come through from, you know, parents, grandparents that have had a lot of trauma, and the world was still in quite a dense space, and there was a lot more to move and clear and shift and all of that. And I get all that, but I couldn't quite work out why there was so much and it was so severe for them. It just really flipped me. Now I tend to get why. I can see.
Well, I think it's too that they've come in as a different frequency to what the earth has been or what's been here, and now it's starting to change. So there's becoming a balance for them in some way, you know, and again, that comes back to more people doing their work, more people being aware of the consciousness and the planet, and the energy and the frequency that we're putting out too. So yeah, they come in also to wake us up.
Yes, they
They
do.
often find that they come into families where nobody's awake. A
Yeah.
little bit like me. I came into a family where nobody was awake. And
Yeah.
yeah, you either wake them up
Mm,
or
mm,
shine a light, whether they choose to follow it or not. But
yeah.
I often get mums bring their kids along, and it'll be like, I just don't understand. I don't understand this child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes, I know that's a big thing, eh? And I feel now I can sort of sense that they weren't meant to fit into that other world. It was just not where they were, even though they were born into it, they were holding space for themselves really, and probably
yeah.
their friends to be able to, wait for this time. Because now I feel they'll be able to move into the world in a different way, or the way that they were here to be, and be okay with that, be able to be okay and comfortable.
Yeah, and they kind of need a little bit of that footprint of the older energy to move forward, so that they can kind of take that with them and have an
Yes.
understanding of what is going on here
Yeah.
behind them, so that as they go forward, and then there's the new energies and the new people, the new ones coming in, so they're kind of like that middle bridge,
They are.
really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really see that. It's amazing. And I love these little ones now that are coming in. Oh my goodness me. They're just like, I thought when Bobby, arrived 26 years ago, I thought how onto it she was. And even Jasmine 43 years ago, I thought how onto it she was also, and that we are in our own space, in that space when we're first born, we're still in that God energy or creator energy, whatever we want to call it, source. But these little ones now, they're really coming in their highest form. And they are really definitely stepping these mums and dads up to the plate, and grandparents in particular as well.
I
And
love playing this little game. Like I was at the mall the other day in Auckland, because I was meeting my daughter there with the grandkids.
yeah,
And I was watching these people walk past with their babies, and I thought, I'll just see what happens if I expand my aura and shoot it all out, and like really send out
yes.
some colours. And these kids were going like this as they were going past, being pushed. They were sort of like, and then they'd see me, and they'd be like, wow, it was great. I
Yeah,
loved it. It was just, a bit of entertainment for myself while I was there.
for sure. I used to do that too, Tracy, with kids years ago. I'd do this little thing and see if they noticed, and they always did.
Yeah.
And they loved it.
Yeah.
I think I know for my grandson and my granddaughter, it was that recognition of them recognizing that I knew that they knew, you know. And I remember getting that from my great grandmother, who was apparently a tea leaf reader and things. Her and her mates used to gather together in their dining room and read tea leaves. And I remember when she passed away when I was around 13 years old, it was quite a traumatic thing for me. For whatever reason, I just felt like she knew who I was, and now this one person is gone, And she told me from spirit that yes, she knew, and she saw my gifts and all of that. And she was telling me then about the tea leaf reading and things that she used to do, and we had a giggle. But yeah, it's a great experience here, isn't it, in this form?
Yeah, my grandmother was a tea leaf reader as well. I had it on both sides. I had a colour healer on one side and a tea leaf reader on the other side. So,
Oh wow.
and they were both,
Yeah.
inspirational for me now,
Mm,
definitely.
yeah. And what's your ambitions, do you think, Tracy? What do you feel if you want to share, of course, up to you, but what do you feel
Well,
you're
I'm
up?
doing a few other things as well. So I've got, I've started making my own cacao range.
Yes.
So with beans from the Solomon Islands. So I'm incorporating that because it feels like it's there to nourish and support everyone as we're going along. So
Right.
to be honest, I couldn't tell you exactly what my ambitions are right now, because it feels like there's a bit of a melting pot going on, and I'm
There is.
trying to find, like I'm doing the Constellation training because it's so needed, and it fits into so many different categories.
Yeah.
Like I've got doctors and teachers and psychologists and healers and all sorts of people, grannies doing it, all sorts of things. And then I've got to support us physically and spiritually, emotionally, bringing the cacao through as well. So my ambitions, that's a really good question.
I know it is.
I'm just kind of leaving it open, because they know what they want me to do. I'm happy to wait for that to evolve. And I just know I want to be clearing the pathway and just to be here. My ambition is to have fun.
Yes.
Be light and find ease and anchoring in a new way for the grandchildren.
Yes. I know. It's it was sad listening to my grandson saying that he'd never have children, and I thought, gosh. And I realized in that moment how maybe I'd let him down and not maybe teaching him as much as I could, although his parents were not there. My daughter might have been, but the father wasn't. Don't let your mother do anything on him. So there was that resistance around. So, but I feel now, I sort of look at how many of these young ones I don't know, maybe are lost. I feel lost in that they don't see the future on the planet anymore. The global warming and this pandemic stuff, they're all seeing that there's just no future. They don't actually want to step forward, as is probably why there's so much suicide going on as well. And I sort of, that part for me with my grandkids is a wee bit sort of unsettling in a sense.
Yeah, mine are a bit. Yeah, my grandkids are 9, 5, and 20 months. So we haven't had deep conversations like that yet. But
right. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like there's there's so many things in a sense of where to from here. Because there's so much potential in what we can create now, and bring in. But when I look at all of it, I'm sort of like, oh, I could go, do something there. I could do something in there. I could do something in there. And there's just so much that I come back to, okay, well, we'll just keep going the way we and see where it all goes. But I also feel that it's important to set those intentions and to actually get an idea about where we're driving it to, or where we're wanting it to flow, not driving. But and like you say, even when I go in to do that, I'm sitting in the space of such a mishmash of energy and so much going on still in that ether, that it's I think it comes just back to just being love and just being that, actually actioning that into life more and more. And I think, as I was saying about this year, feels like it's more fun, and it feels like this is the year where we really lift off, so I'm intentionally wanting to stay sort of in that centered, aligned space with that. And
a little bit of a payoff for the hard work we've been doing. Hey,
yeah, exactly. And this is why Intimate Conversations was about really just highlighting the pioneers that have been holding the light, and ones like ourselves. We've been, when I first started up, my teenage years, there weren't mediums, clairvoyants, there weren't intuitive people showing up anywhere. It was very far between them. And to come out in that time, it was like coming out of the closet, I suppose, but it was like that. And it was quite, like you said, you didn't have the support. I didn't have the support either. There wasn't support there. And it was difficult. And I felt when we went into these last 3 years, that's where I went back to. It was like having that being segregated and separated up and not accepted, and for certain choices over that 3 years, you know. So it took me back into that space of when I was back in my teens and coming out into this arena and saying, well, this is who I am, still trying to hide it, but, you know, sort of letting people see a bit of it. Yeah, it was quite uneasing for me to feel that again, you know, but again, it was good because it just sort of, now I don't give a hoo-nanny about what people think or see of me, you know. It's freeing again.
I think the more we become acceptant of who we are, you know, and my family are just like, oh yeah, but you've always been a bit different. And even if I've got family friends, they go, oh yeah, you've always been different. And I was trying so hard to fit in that box.
I know, exactly.
I squeezed my little frilly ass into that box. It wasn't working. I was trying to be normal.
So Tracy, and one of my friends from high school said when we were at a reunion once, and she said, oh, what do you do? And I always have this little pause of, okay, how do I word this? And when I said, she goes, oh, you were always like that, weren't you? And I was astounded. I thought, oh my God, I was hiding that. No, how did you know that? But, you know, people did. Obviously, we weren't very good at hiding ourselves.
Our invisibility cloaks weren't working so well back then.
Yeah, they weren't.
Oh, that's one thing I learned during COVID. Well, no, actually, I'd had an experience before it, but COVID allowed me to practice a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
With the public, some invisibility, which was a nice skill to be able to
It is a good skill. Yeah, absolutely.
You
know, I remember there were two times that were very, very prominent in that I was not seen all day. And I went into process over it. It was like, why is nobody speaking to me today? And I'd be sitting in the conversation with people in a group, and my girlfriends at school, it was a high school day one day. And I actually went home crying when I got into my own space. I was crying my eyes out thinking, they all hate me. There's something's happened and they don't like me. They never spoke to me all day. It was as if I was not in their realm at all. Then that happened again at an expo. And I was sitting there and people were just walking past my table as if there was a space there that nothing was in it. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, honestly, I couldn't get it. And then it was years later, and I was reading an article, actually, when I was making up those newsletters and actually stapling the papers together and putting them in envelopes and posting them all out. Back in the old days. Oh, back in the old days. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, there was an article that I put in one of those about invisibility. And then it just clicked. Oh my goodness. I thought, oh my God, that's what I was doing. I was actually invisible to them. Just made so much sense. And it calmed me down because it had haunted me for all my life as to what the hell had happened those 2 days. But yeah, it's a great tool.
Well, both times I was intentional. And one of them through for my own safety was the first one. It was like, and I think I probably had done it on and off as a child, but not really realized.
Yeah.
And I remember going, they can't even see me. Like, this is all, there was quite a dangerous situation happening in front of me. And I just went, I'm invisible. I'm going to feel myself pull right back. And the situation went out in front of me. And yeah, afterwards I was like, well, that was a really good skill to learn. It was, you know, terrifying what had happened, but at the same time, I could see that was so beneficial.
Yes. Yeah, it is a great tool. When I'm tracking energy that's been harming somebody, and I will track them out at night time to see where they go, so as we can determine what energies around them and things. That's when I use it. I use it as an invisibility then. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I love it.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't go out and myself, like I'm not going to be going, oh, I'm just going to go invisible to the shops, or, you know, like in that.
No.
Because I guess some people that are watching this are probably trying to understand what it means. It's like I was in a situation that was life-threatening to myself, but to people around me also. But in that moment, I was told to become invisible, and it literally felt my cells become translucent.
Yes, that's
because what was happening wasn't actually anything to do with me.
Yeah.
But I could have been. It could have been. And then the second situation was something that I wanted to participate in, and I didn't have the right credentials, we'll say, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What was going on in the world at the time.
Yes.
So I became invisible, and I participated in this day, and I invisible to certain people.
Yes, I was going to say.
And then the rest of it was like everyone else could see me. It was great. It was like, yeah, didn't know I had the skill. So it's really helped me to move this muscle. And yeah, I recommend people try it. Go out when you're out, try it. How can I not be seen by those who I'm not resonating with? It's kind of like upping your frequency so that they can't actually see your denseness. You're actually in a space of there. And then it's almost like you allow the cells to move so that those who you want to see you can see you.
Yes.
It's kind of the easiest way I can describe it.
It is like that. I when, you know, and I don't know if you were in any of the groups when I did this too, but I'd get, I'd expand myself right out to my full being, and they would be way outside the room, and I'd say, okay, now you're going to come in and just see where you can feel the outer edge of my being. And that would happen, and then I'd do other things. And then in the invisibility one, what I would do is I'd retract right in, and then I make myself into this, I can feel it energetically. I don't know how to explain it though in words, but it is going translucent, and it's like you're not matter at all. And they couldn't feel me. My body was sitting there. They could see my body, but they couldn't actually feel me in any way. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I love doing all that, and the quantum leaping, and, you know, shifting our energy so that we can, because that's what we are. We are that, you know.
Yeah, well, because as human beings, just like this table or the chair that I'm sitting on, we're dense.
Yeah.
And we're dense energy. So it's practice, becoming lighter, shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as you invite it in also, consciously invite it in.
Yes. And
that it gets me excited. Just talking about it gets me excited, especially when there's someone else who knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Some people just look at me like I'm a freak.
I know. They do. But I love that too. I love shocking people if they're those people. As you know. But yeah, it is fun. And that from what I understand too is that our worlds are shifting, our splitting. You know, we know this, we're walking in two worlds now. And and that world is going to, this one, the denser one, is going to become less visible to us as well. As we move more into these higher frequencies and become that, we are not going to be seen by people in that denser space. And I sort of, that for me boggles my mind a wee bit, but I can see and know how that can work as well. On a level there, I know that can work. I can see it. And we're doing it almost like now, we're almost doing that anyway. For a lot of us, it's fun. But Magick's so cool, eh? Like energy and vibration, and I just absolutely love it. It's such a passion.
Yeah, for sure.
And seeing it show up instantly, you know, like you can, like, just to be able to see it show up instantly. That's what I love. Like before, you know, to sort of create something you'd be waiting a year to 2 years. You know, now it's like, what? Straight away.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
And sometimes it's just like, you're thinking it and boom, it's there, and it's like, how did that happen so quickly?
Yeah. And do you get things disappearing on you, Tracy, and then you can't find them? You know, you put your keys right there and you've been looking around the house for 2 days and you haven't been able to find them, and then all of a sudden here they are again in that space you left them in. Yeah. That's crazy too, eh? That's a bit sort of, that gets your mind boggled a wee bit, because it's like, I know I put it there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did that with my watch. I knew I'd stuck it in this bag, and I went into that bag, I don't know how many times, because I kept going, I know I've stuck it in here. And then one day randomly I had that bag and I was at the beach and I put my hand in and pulled my watch out.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I've been looking at for you and you were there, and I've looked in there so many times in that same pocket and everything.
Yeah.
So that's probably the latest one that I can think of.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's all fun. And I think that for me now is, well, into 2011, when I had the light body sort of, I say activated, it was more that it was anchored in really quite strongly. And then it was learning how to drive that.
Yeah.
How things were so different, and it was like, holy moly, this is really all flipped on me. And I was quite uncertain about things for a long time. Actually, it took me a while to get my bearings and to actually probably ground it in and earth it in properly too, more, to be able to steady it in a sense, to be able to sort of move with it and play with it and find out how it all works now. And this shift again now is sort of that type of thing again, where it's just a matter of taking a step by step and navigating your way through how it is today in this moment, really. Because
a lot of, because there's a lot of clearing, clearing the calcifications and all of the stuff that's been put in us or around us, and as some people are getting like big shoves through the transformations really quickly, and some of us have been doing it for a while, so we've had that time to evolve.
Yes, some are getting really pushed very quickly. It's scary for them. I get that too. A lot of them are quite scared in the sense of, oh my God, everything's just changed so quickly. And I think a lot of people, I know when we were in our first lockdown, which was a beautiful to me, I loved it, and the world loved it. I mean, this planet, she just soaked that up. It was so lovely for her, but for all of us, and it gave us all a bit of a rest, really, and a time to sit and reset and readjust to what's happening, and okay, what do I want coming out of this lockdown? And I know a lot of people went back to the way they just were before, but even saying that, I just know that within them there were absolutely things that shifted that were going to change the trajectory for them in the future. And I know for myself, and even just now too, going away for a few days down into the center of the island there, watching the holiday makers, having fun, playing in the water, the sun's out, it's just beautiful weather, and I just saw all this freedom and joy again, and it was so lovely to see, and that everyone seemed to have this bounce in them again, whereas for a long time I was thinking, gosh, I haven't felt joy for a little while, seemed like it had been taken out. But it's all coming back, and it's coming back in a more vibrant way too. It's really beautiful.
Well, there seems to be less of the old, the pushing down.
Yes.
So
yeah.
That sucks the joy out of you.
It does, for sure it does. It's quite it's been a taxing time for sure. Really taxing. But it's a beautiful time in saying all that though. And like I say, there's just so much potential in what we can bring in now, and how we can start, really activating our powers and empower ourselves into our new lives and new space.
I've really stepped into my sound as well. So as a child, one of the things that was really active in me was the joy would come out and the excitement would come out in sound. It was never very appreciated.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Go out to the maize field and make that noise. Oh, okay. And I finding that's really helping, and it's helping others to receive that the changes as well, because I'm using my voice with clients and in groups and workshops and stuff as well. So toning and finding the frequency, and yeah, and then it gives people permission to actually, oh, I like that feeling. I like the way that feels. So
yes,
you know, and maybe that allows them to sing a little bit more, or to feel a bit more freer, you know, like find their voice in the shower, or so opening the channels, really.
Yes, it is.
So
It is.
really encourage people to find the tone, the frequency, whatever works for you to help you feel. And even if you think you can't sing, you can make sound.
Yes,
you know, and that's what it's about, because that will help to shift lots and lots of things.
I'm doing that with my granddaughter. She's only 3, but I get loud with her. She might get loud, and it's amazing, you know, and then I get loud and she giggles. She thinks it's the funniest thing when I come on board with it. And it encourages her to keep going, and she does, because she loves it. But that's something, because I found, and I'm going to ask you this, did you have to really break through a lot to get your voice to actually, like, to be comfortable with making sound and bringing through what people might say is, you know, ridiculous, what are you doing, it sounds weird, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I'd heard others being, you know, ridiculed for doing stuff. So there was this process that I had to take myself through. In fact, I actually created nodules in my thyroid because I held it in so much.
Right, yes.
And yet it makes me feel so good. You know, so the nodules are still there, but they're not creating the issues that they were, because I'm allowing the sound to come out. And but just being authentic with it, you know, like if there's it's really hard, but it's so, I want to say, it's so awesome when you step into it.
I know, because we're told to be quiet so much. When, like, school, we go to school, be quiet, not a sound. You know,
and you want to be
listen all the time and not actually speak.
People want you to be normal. Well, what's normal? What is normal?
Yes.
And when you think about us talking here, we're making sound. That's all we're doing, but we've translated it and made it into a language. So, you know, I find sometimes the sound is coming through me. I can be standing or playing the drums or whatever I'm doing. Like, I've got a sound bath tonight in town, and I'll be playing the drums, and the sound's coming through, and I'm like, how am I making this noise? I'm having this conversation with myself. It's going on for ages, you know, like, far out. I didn't know I could hold my breath that long, or, you know, allow that much sound to come out of me. So it's always like, what's in the energy, what's in the space. And my family are so used to me now, walking around the house. They hear me in the shower. My son's friend was here the other day, and he goes, is your mum all right? He goes, oh yeah, she's just making noise. She's all right.
That's funny. I forget. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah, it took me a long time to get comfortable with singing in front of people. And a friend of mine, he does recording, and he said, come on, Mandy, get in the recording room and, well, you know, put your favorite song on and we'll do that. And my favorite album is Carole King, Tapestry. So there were 2 songs in that I said, yeah, okay, let's do that. But I honestly, I was quivering. My voice was like this because I was holding it all back, and I just was not comfortable. Even though I'm in the room on my own, I knew he was on the other side of the wall listening to everything that was coming through. And I don't know, tried for about, 3 or 4 times. And then I said to him, I walked out of the room, went round to him, and I said, I'm holding back, eh? He goes, yep. I said, right, crank it up. I was like, had enough of this now, let's crank it up. So I said, I need it louder so I can really open up. Well, away I went, and you couldn't get me out of there then, Tracy.
Oh, wow. That's
honestly
amazing.
Could not get me out. We did 2 songs and they come out really well. But what I heard when I actually let this happen, I heard this shattering glass, like it was so clear, as though all this around me was just shattering. and this, you know, glass cage I'd put myself in or whatever, I don't know, but man, it shattered, and then you couldn't get me out of there. I was going, when can we have another go? I just wanted to go back in and again and again. Now I've bought a karaoke thing, you know, where I sit there and I get on and sing away to myself.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah,
cool.
how many people have been told, you know, you can't sing, you sound terrible. Yeah. When I was younger, I got asked, am I a bloke? Because my voice is so deep.
Right.
Right. And that used to stop me. So I just,
it would.
You know, yeah. And now I embrace it because it's, you know, it has its benefits.
Unique
because
to
I can get to tones that others can't. So struggle a little bit with the higher ones, obviously, but when it comes to the sounding, I can take those really deep bass chakra tones, to another level. So
it's great. And it was about 2-3 years ago that I really got very clearly at the beginning of that year, sound is really important now. And then I watched all these ones starting to come into sound healings and doing sound baths like you're doing tonight, things like that. Beautiful. Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, well, we're all frequency and vibration, so
that's right. And what I love about it is the mind isn't involved in this, because you trip off, you know, you're in the sound bath and bathing in this, and you're releasing whatever the stuff is that might be coming through. And you don't have to connect it to anything, you know, it's just going. You don't have to have the information around it either.
Yeah, and we're the location, so it's changed location, but so the last location was above a bar, and now we're beside a bar, so it's sort of going, so my humanness, my ego has to get over the fact that everybody down there at that bar can hear me because it's in the evening,
right?
And not care about what they think, and stay present here now in the space for what's in this room, rather than letting myself go out there and worrying about that. It's just like, be here, be now, and
that's
and enjoy it rather than being in that space, because I think that holds a lot of us back, is the fear of what is everyone else going to think when we do this.
I know, I was always all good in a public speaking somewhere unless somebody came in that I knew, and then and instantly it'd take me out of the present moment. I'd get into my head, I'd start panicking. And you know, when I first started the centres, how awkward I was when I got up, you know, and I'd get all embarrassed, and I'd make a joke, you know, hang on a minute, I'm just having a little panic attack, I'll be right in a minute, and everyone would laugh, and then I'd be able to laugh, and then I'd clear it. But if I was trying to hold that and hide it and pretend like everything's sweet, I wouldn't have got through it as well as I did, because I was just storing it down again. But it's a funny thing, isn't it? The way our mind takes us off onto those little stories, you know, takes us out to the people that are standing on the other side of the room, and we start concerning ourselves about them.
Yeah. And their soul is, you know, for the ones that are in the room with you, their soul has brought you them there for a reason. Yeah,
that's right.
So,
beautiful, Tracy.
And it comes down to trust, You know,
it does.
And I know that you taught me, that was one of the things that I took away from the learnings with you, is like trust the field and trust yourself. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, this has been beautiful.
Been fun,
yes, definitely. And thank you so much for coming on, and and for doing all that you're doing, Tracy. I know there's so many people I hear have gone to your constellation gatherings and come out on the other side of that amazed and healed and starting new lives. So great stuff.
Thank you. Really good. Well, we're both doing it in the world, so the world needs more of us.
Absolutely. Yes. This is the year to take it out there even bigger. Well, thank you again, as I said, and we'll catch up again at some point, but just keep trucking on as you will. I know you will. You love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks for the invitation. It's been great. I've been loving catching up and just, sharing, and hopefully that this is going to be really valuable for someone that's
you know, in the space of unsurety, or just knowing that, you know, we all start in this space too. So
we do, absolutely. When you hear some of the stories of those who have, like ourselves, who have come through all this stuff, you know, God, you sort of, you wonder how on earth we've all made it, really. But it's been that inner knowing and that heart pull and passion that we have for soul and humanity that's kept us in there, eh?
for sure.
Yeah. Beautiful. Mwah. Much love to you and your
Thank
family,
you.
Trace.
Thanks,
And
Mandy.
we'll
You
see
too.
you again very soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.